I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded today. Also pay respects to the elders past and present, and extend that respect to any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who may be listening today. This is Melanated in Melbourne, a podcast designed to give an insightful look into the Australian lifestyle from the lens of two Black American besties. Welcome back, Mel Nation. I'm Ri'chard.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is Melanated in Melbourne.
Melanated in Melbourne. I should warm up before singing. I just drank a coffee and had a croissant. I didn't do no type of vocal warm-ups. Okay, if my instrument is sounding, but that's okay.
Well, as our watchers can see, we're now online because we're embracing technology and leaning into it. We have a special guest with us who's not even in this country, so online is actually mandatory. Welcome to the podcast, Lauren.
Absolutely. Excited to be here. Excited to be with y'all. I'm a proud member of Melanation, and so being here is really fun.
So very good to have you. We promised our listeners at the start of the season that we'd have to talk about Cheeto and that administration because we can't ignore it. We know it's happening. And anytime we talk about things that are above us, we actually want to have like people who are experts in the field. So the first person I thought of was you. So very much happy to have you on the podcast to talk about what's happening over there and maybe see what glimmers of hope these new election results are going to provide for us. But before we get to that, Nicole, did you say you saw Eve?
I did. They have this concert here a couple of weeks ago called R&B Fridays, which the headliner was Mariah Carey, which I was very, very excited about. However, the rest of the lineup it wasn't really giving R&B, but I did get to see our girl EVE, got to shake my tambourine, got to let me blow your mind, and got to If I Was a Rich Girl, which was fantastic. But then they also had Wiz Khalifa, Lil Jon. I ended up cranking that Soulja Boy. I was so confused. And then,
they brought Soulja Boy out?
They did not bring Soulja Boy out, but I did crank that Superman like my life depended on it. I should have stretched beforehand. But then there was also Pitbull. That was the thing that everybody was there for.
Yeah, everyone was there for. I saw all the bald caps. There was a notion of bald caps, and was he before Mariah? Because that would have been so disrespectful. Mariah's like trying to sing to a crowd of bald heads.
It was okay because I was kind of like, let Pitbull go before Mariah and then everyone else could leave. But of course, nobody wanted to leave because who doesn't want to see Mariah Carey? She's an icon in her right. And so it didn't thin out as much as I was hoping that it would. But it was definitely interesting and fun. I mean, I saw Pitbull the weekend that I turned 18. Like, I went to a club in New Jersey. Redacted
year.
And this is when he was doing like the si quiere toma. Like, so I was there. So I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't there back in the day. I'm gonna make that thing bounce. I'm gonna make that thing shake. So I'm not gonna act like I don't know Pitbull, but I was definitely not on the same level that the baldies. Hold up. Should I say that? Okay.
Now wait a minute. Now wait a minute. Let me just.
Richard's like...
The call's coming inside the house, ma'am. I was at home minding my own business, and why did I catch a stray? The baldies are out, and Mariah Carey is upset.
Stop! If anything, Ri'chard, they were appropriating bald culture. Okay, they don't know that life.
They absolutely weren't. They don't.
Let me tell you, some of them ball caps looked a mess. Because how you gonna have the swimming cap on and then a big ass bun in the back? Y'all had bullets. Y'all were bald with mullets, and I don't appreciate that. It was upsetting me and my homegirl. Shout out to D Flowers because we went to go see Mariah together. But we were trying to understand the configuration. Some people had the bun on top of their head with the bald all around, and I was like, I need y'all to pick a lane. But that's okay. That's all right. They had listen, Lauren, I'm confused and I had to see it in person.
They didn't commit.
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. They did not commit. They were like, oh my God, we're going to be fun and put on bald caps, which is like cute. It's like, they're doing something that's not necessarily for the male gaze. So I am with them on that. But it was just
have some whimsy. Yeah, do it for yourself, but do it better.
It was giving. Yeah, who's that person from Rocky Horror Picture Show where he's got the bald head and like a couple of stringy bits? I can't remember their name. Riff Raff? I don't know. Oh. But anyway, that's what it was giving to me.
Riff Raff.
That's what it was giving to me. It was still a fun time, but it wasn't really R&B. So we'll take what we can get.
Yeah. Because I know they've done things like that. Sorry?
I didn't freeze. I was just posing. Sorry.
Oh, you can't do that because it feels like you are actually freezing, and it's like hello. Anytime those come up, I just don't want to do it. I don't really want to bother with these R&B attempts because it's either going to be really, really bad or average and expensive. Because even though a lot of people aren't currently like popular right now, when you get that many people lined up, they'll still be like $200, $300 for the show, and I'm like, I'm like, I don't want that.
Like, thank goodness for Tixel, I was able to get a little ticket on the slide.
Oh yeah,
for cheaper than what it was. But yes,
is there Tixel in America, Lauren?
I'm not familiar. Tell me about Tixel, and especially if it's cheap concert price.
Yeah, so it's like, say you get sick the day of a Beyonce concert, and you're like, actually, I can't go. Here, someone take this. Yes, well, yes, I ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was my Lysol for the germs. I don't know. I just didn't want that around my.
You're like,
she's not even touring. She's not even touring. You will be okay. You're allowed to get sick right now. This is your rest period until she's like, just kidding. I'm touring again with Act 3. But no. So if you can't go to concert for some reason, or you buy too many tickets, like you say, I bought 2 tickets, you bought tickets. We thought we were buying tickets for each other. We can put them on Tixel, and if it's an in-demand concert that's fully sold out, you can probably get face value for it. But if you're like, the concert's in 5 hours, I broke my leg, I'll take half off. And they verify the tickets are real. And you can get really good discount tickets if you're happy to risk it. Because sometimes everybody's fighting for those tickets. You can do auto buys. So it's like, if a ticket pops up under $100, buy it for me right away. And so they can go really, really fast. Or if everyone and their mother's like, actually, Pitbull was a really bad idea, and they all try to sell their tickets, and there's a bunch of options, people will try to undercut each other for prices just to sell in time. So I've had a lot of really good tickets from Tixel, and I've had my ass saved from Tixel being like, actually, I've had a really long week. I'm exhausted. I've got something I prefer to be at. Let me just get this money back if I can. Actually, on Monday, I was on set for a beer commercial, and they were like, yeah, it's a 4-hour shoot. It was a 9-hour shoot. I missed the concert altogether, but I sold it while in between breaks. And like, I got my money. It was just like half of what I paid for it, but at the same time, better than just losing it altogether.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all need a sponsorship. That was a great pitch.
I mean, one of my friends is sponsored by Tixel.
It's like, have you ever broken your leg before a concert before? My leg!
My leg! My leg! Oh my God. What was I going to say? Actually, we could just hop into it. Lauren, so we have you on our episode for our first U.S. politics conversation, but before we get into that, we would love to give our listeners your origin story.
Absolutely. So my origins begin in Mesquite, Texas, which I have learned to be very proud of. It's a journey. I met Ri'chard in high school, which, was redacted years ago.
Yep.
It is...
Period.
It is, and yeah, I mean, if I can be frank, being a Black woman in Mesquite trying to figure stuff out was not what I'd call fun. If we can just be honest. Amen. I imagine being a Black queer kid in our school was not fun. Oh. And we very much, we bonded over kind of like, yeah, so countdown to getting out of here? Like, when are we done? And so after graduating, I was blessed to relocate to Atlanta. I am a proud graduate of Spelman College, and I got my degree in political science there with full plans of going to law school. That had been the dream since I was a young lass, that I was going to go represent the people. And
was that because of
my senior year of...
Was that because of living single, Max?
No, so Maxine played a factor, so did Claire Huxtable.
Yep. Okay, cool.
So did...
I had a feeling.
Yes, there were a lot of there were a lot of dope Black women on TV who were like doing the thing that I was like, hey, this could be a thing. Yeah. In hindsight, very grateful I did not do that. Ended up senior year of college just having a weird awakening and being like, I think I really care about media and communications. Again, slight detour. Ri'chard was actually my ride to radio, like my entire junior year. So he probably was not surprised by that detour, but I decided to pursue media. And so I ended up moving to DC and getting my master's in political communications, where I was thrust into electoral politics. So I got my master's in 2016, and so was thrown right into that election cycle. And right. So we can hear where this goes. My job actually at that time, y'all, was a media monitor, right? So that meant, well, at first I was a tracker, right? So I like went around to different political rallies. My second gig was a media monitor, which meant that the office I worked in had 4 screens up at all times. It was MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and then whatever local broadcast might have been up. I guess like if it's a tornado coming, you know that too, right? But like we watched and responded to every single Trump rally.
Oh no.
So I had to watch all of the rallies and Twitter and sort of flag for my higher ups like, hey, he's kind of going crazy. We should, talk about this, right?
Yeah.
By the end of the election, he was up to 5 rallies a day. And yeah, I watched all of them. In hindsight, definitely not a great mental health choice, but it did give me a front row seat into what we're looking at. It did. And so I saw, as someone who, again, had a background in communications in the more traditional space, I saw this shift kind of pulling, right? When you watch a stump speech over and over, you notice when they add something new. You notice when talking points shift. And so I was like, he's moving in a particular direction that is frankly not good. And I did not realize he was going to win until he did. And then I went on to work a host of political campaigns as communications director. I've worked with different media outlets. I've worked in an agency. I've worked as direct campaign staff. I've worked for nonprofits. But overall, what I've realized has been sort of my North Star is that I truly do love people. And I mean the collective you and the humanity, right? And I deeply desire a better world for them. Something that I've learned about myself is loving something gives me the room to critique it. And so I'm like, yeah, I love you. I think you're fantastic. And I think you can be better than this.
Yeah.
And so that pushes me to do a lot of the work that I do. And if you ever watch my podcast, you'll hear me say some crazy stuff and be like, girl, like, do you love America? Yes, I love America. And this is why I'm able to say what I say. Yes, I love Black people. And that's why I'm able to say some of the things that I say. And so I'm excited to be here with you all and sort of hear what we look like as external/internal as you are, right? I'm curious what we look like to the rest of the world. And hopefully I can offer some insights that might make it make a bit more sense.
Oh, absolutely. And before we go into that, I would love for you to plug your show as well, because again, we're here to cross promote.
Absolutely. In 2020, I started Unbossed, Unbothered, and Unfiltered, which is a podcast on every platform you can imagine. But we specialize in progressive politics happening in marginalized communities. And so I'm issue-based, I'm topic-oriented. I also bring in subject matter experts, but some episodes are just me. And it's been a really beautiful space. Something I noticed working in communications is that a lot of my best work and insights had other people's names on it. And so having the show gave me a chance to put my name on it. And it has been a fantastic experience. I've learned so much, and I hope to keep doing it, honestly, as long as I can. So give me a shout out, give me a listen, give me a follow, all the things.
Yay.
Absolutely. And whenever we do the reels, we'll be collaborating so that everyone can also see your podcast and vice versa, because we're all going up, because we're all doing Lord's work, because unfortunately, we're going to be the ones who have to save us. For a while, I was like, maybe someone will just pop up and do the thing. And I'm like, nope, nobody. Okay. Let me put my backpack on. So, yeah, again, been very big fan of your work.
The horrors persist, but so do I.
Exactly. So one of the big pieces of news that have come out of the world recently is Mandani's win. And in Australia, like everyone's talking about it, everyone's very curious about it, which I think is so interesting because, yes, while Australia does have mayors, the way our political structure isn't quite the same as America. And I know our listeners are 70% Australian now. So if you could run down why his victory is important, because, again, it's just mayor. He's not governor. He's not president. Why is it so important for us and the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Zohran Mamdani is important for a host of reasons. I'm going to start with like sort of location and demographic. So he is mayor-elect right now of New York City, which is, for anyone who knows about American culture, a hallmark, a staple, a very important place to be. Also, ironically, back in 2001, when 9/11 happened, the mayor of New York was Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
And the phrase was coined like that New York City is America's mayor, right? Like this is, so it is as prominent a national position as a local position can be. And so that's why this race captures national and international attention, even though it's a local race. I'll also say Zohran Mamdani is an attractive 34-year-old Muslim man in this space who embraced being a socialist. For those of us who remember the other charismatic brown man who won elected office, Barack Obama, in 2008, socialist was the death trap. That was what they tried to call him. And he was actively fighting that in both terms and while he was running for office, that this was something you could not be. It was not winnable. And so it also shows a significant shift in American politics that we can have a brown man of this level of popularity in this location win the city's highest honor. So yeah, Mamdani's win is a much needed bit of good news. I don't think I mentioned this. I'm in DC now, and DC is about 4 hours from New York geographically. Yeah. So it's somewhere that I've been easily a million times at this point. It's not a hard place to get to. But DC has been such a place of doom and gloom that to have like a bit of victory to the north is also very, very heartwarming.
Yeah, it was nice waking up today with a bit of hope. Just a little bit.
Is Nicole frozen for you, or am I out of it? Okay. We'll just give it a little do.
Yeah, give her a chance to wait.
In Australia, even though allegedly they invented Wi-Fi, we have some of the worst Wi-Fi around.
Really?
Yeah. Like there's just now recent upgrades to our internet, but it's not really, she's not doing what she should be doing. So I pay a stupid amount of money to get high internet, but I'll still cut out. Oh, welcome back.
Hi. Yeah, I'd have no idea what happened with my Wi-Fi. Just like disconnected while celebrating Mandani. The internet was Islamophobic. That's what I think was happening.
Truly. And I was just telling Lauren about how our internet's like, we invented it allegedly, like Wi-Fi, but we have some of the worst in the world.
When the wind blows, when it's a windy day, the Wi-Fi doesn't work as well here. I have no data to back that up other than the fact that my internet is cutting up right this moment and it's windy outside.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch to it being windy. Like I thought about saving money and getting a cheaper Wi-Fi, but when I realized how many times I'm playing video games online and I would just like stream and it would like, oh, you know what? You don't need to play anymore. Pause. And like, no, you can't pause. There's real people involved in this. I need this. But what were you going to say, Nicole? We didn't get any of the, because you started talking and then it froze.
What I hope for mostly is that this is a wake-up call for the DNC. We're probably going to get into it, but we feel like the Democrats, they're always trying to convert centrists and other undecided Republican voters. Like that feels like what they're always trying to go after. And when Democratic voters, people, don't feel that inspired by their candidate, they will just stay at home. They will stay at home. Even to their own detriment. They will just abstain from voting if they don't feel inspired to vote. Obama was winning by such wonderful margins back in the day. His election would happen and we would be at the club by 10 celebrating because he was just winning because people were like, nah, we ain't voting for John McCain. Nah, we ain't voting for Mitt Romney. And we were able to celebrate early on. But ever since then, you feel like the Democrats have had this issue with coming up with a candidate that really inspires people. Granted, I know this is a local election and I'm talking about two different things. I understand that. So I'm conflating the two. Mm. However, I do think that it shows that there are voters who feel inspired to vote for a Democratic socialist. When is back in the day in the McCarthy era, when people were getting blacklisted for even being considered a communist, the big red scare, when if you were considered a socialist, you were just like blacklisted from your job. You never got to work again. You essentially had to go hide in obscurity because being a socialist was the worst thing you could be. And it's just trying to spread some money around. It's just trying to be like, you know what? I'd rather my money go to some social programs to help these people out rather than going into the pockets of these CEOs because trickle down economic. I almost said economics. You know what? We'll take that. Trickle down economics does not work. It's when you give money to the people, the higher ups, and they're like, it'll filter back down. Like we in a damn aquarium and we gonna have some fish flakes float down to us.
Aquarium.
It doesn't happen that way.
That's hilarious.
It doesn't happen that way.
Not aquarium. No. So it's funny you say that because my phrase that I've been coining. So if you hear people say it came from me, girl.
Yes.
I say trickle down economics is false.
Period.
But trickle down anxiety is very real.
Period.
Right.
You know what?
And so what you're saying,
okay, these are my headphones.
What you're saying is like people get nervous at the top. And the middle gets nervous, and so the bottom gets nervous. Like, that's what you end up seeing. And I think, President Obama galvanized a lot of people, inspired a lot of people. I do think one of the issues with electoral politics, period, it can be difficult to determine why someone won.
Yeah.
Whenever someone wins, everybody shows up and takes credit. Every group, the women are saying it was us. The Black voters are saying it was us. The immigrants are saying it was us. When everybody loses, it's, that wasn't us. Well, that wasn't. It's like, it's difficult to gauge.
Wow.
Because of that, I will say, I don't think the Democratic Party does a good job with like comprehensive lessons from elections. They want to say it was this one thing and move forward. And I think that we are seeing that not necessarily play out well. I also think, as you noted, local, state, and federal elections are different. I think Vice President Harris ran the best race she could have run in 107 days. At the same time, their polling told them that abortion was what was going to bring people to the polls. And there are women's groups that spend millions of dollars trying to tell you that that is the key issue. And it did not come through.
No.
Now, granted, I think there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, again, we don't even have to rehash 2024, I guess. Yeah, we don't have to go back there. There's a lot of reasons why. And I think she gets an undue amount of, frankly, blame for an administration that was going to have an uphill battle anyway, trying to get reelected.
Yes.
But I think that like figuring out why someone that formula can be difficult. And I also will say that like, so Mamdani is a huge win in New York City. I don't know if you're going to ask about it, but I did do a stint in Virginia politics. And so I would be remiss to not bring up Governor-elect Spanberger, who,
yes, because the Sears
is a choice.
Yes, because Sears had a black MAGA candidate. And
I found out about that yesterday.
Like,
and
I'm not going to vote for this fool. And the MAGA's like, we're not voting for no chocolate face hoochie. And like, they're not going to.
Okay, and that, first of all, Republicans don't understand identity politics, which is partially why they hate it.
Yes. And
so I think their fear was just to throw up any woman because, well, they're going to bring a woman, so we got to find a woman. Which means they haven't learned anything from 2008 when they tried this with Sarah Palin, right? Like, y'all just throw anybody up there. And think like, oh, okay, cool, we've checked that box. They must come now. That's not what's going to happen. Yeah. Virginia had the first black governor in the nation in the 70s or 80s, Doug Wilder. And so I think they were like, oh, we can try to like play on this history to bring out black. The whole thing was just a mess. It was terrible. But also Spanberger is not a progressive by any metric across the board. As excited as we are about Mamdani in New York City, I will qualify Spanberger as a Virginia Democrat, which is a different ballgame. It's not going to be.
You got to explain the difference because people don't.
Okay. Yeah. The way I describe it leans more conservative culturally. And so that sort of shifts everyone that direction. Yeah. And so it means that it's not as simple as red or blue. You're going to have Democrats that are pro-teacher, but also pro-gun. But also pro-choice, but also want lower taxes, right? Like you're going to have this weird nexus of folks that, people are going to say like, oh, how can you be a Democrat and blank, right? And it's like, because that for them is not at odds. And so I think that we also have to pay attention to not resting party laurels on solely the coasts often. Like, Cali Democrats are great. Massachusetts Democrats are great. But there's Democrats across the country who do have different perspectives that I think the national party has to weigh more than state and local folks. So to the extent that I give them any room, it's that. Now, I agree with you in that this is a huge win for progressives. They win every time they, no tea, no shade, talk a bunch of shit online and back it up at the polls. Yeah. There's so much, like the party really only cares about the polls. So if you prove that this can win, that's always going to push you further than being a trending topic for 4 or 5 months and then getting there with 7% voter turnout. Like,
pretty much. I 110% agree with you because I think that was also a lesson that I learned in 2016 is that what you see online isn't necessarily what's going to translate at the polls. And now that we have more information here, and what year is it? Dear God, 2025. So I can't believe it's going to be 10 years next year. That is the scariest thing I can even consider, the fact that the 2016 election is going to be 10 years next year. But during that time, we heard so often that it was just going to be impossible for Trump to win. Mm-hmm. We were told. There was influence. We had Cambridge Analytica, which was like, influencing what we were seeing online, like propaganda, like it's still big now, but propaganda was influencing the mind of people and just essentially giving this sense of comfort and kind of like, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And then people are like, well, it'll just kind of take care of itself, which was like this false sense of security. And then we got our asses handed to us. As happy as I am for Zohran winning the mayoral race, I'm also kind of feeling like, damn, where was this smoke last year? Where was this fight last year? Where was this passion last year? And as you said, Lauren, there's like a plethora of different factors that took place in last year's election. The fact she only had 107 days, the fact that a lot of Democrats last year were single issue voters, and therefore they abstained from the polls. But I've seen it just happen twice with women candidates, because back in 2016, it was Hillary's emails. And then we kind of come to find out that other officials access classified documents from their own personal email addresses. So what she did wasn't even, like other people did.
Or, we have the current president who keeps them in his bathroom, just in random boxes. And then flies around with them from time to time.
Littering out the window.
Yeah, why couldn't we get it together a couple years ago? But I guess it's also a sign of hope. I also, it's funny how excited... Girl,
not a fire alarm test.
No, I'm being burnt to a crisp. They trying to silence me. Y'all hear this?
Yep.
I'm taking my croissant. Excuse me.
Okay. See you soon.
No, I'm kidding. Okay, but wow, where was I? Speaking of Australians.
Yeah. They will do a test for anything. But actually, one of the things I wanted to, because before you did leave from the point, there's something really valuable you said. You're saying, like, where was this before? I think a lot of white people, a lot of middle of the lane white people are waking up to like, oh, this could happen to us. Like, there's so many people who are like claim to be progressive, like, oh, I vote this way, I vote that way. But when there's stuff that doesn't exactly apply to them, they're like, it's probably fine. That they wouldn't do that. That would never happen to us. So every time they're like, oh, it's so dystopian. Black folks are like, baby girl, this is how I live my entire life. Like, y'all never cared about us. Baby, y'all never looked at us.
Baby.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things they're citing for Governor-elect Spanberger now, right? Like, President Trump, that is the title, whatever. He really fired, for basically no reason, entire portions of the federal government. Yeah. Completely slashed jobs. I mean, I know we haven't heard this word in a while, Doge, because that was supposed to be a thing that happened, right? Remember that all of this government efficiency was allegedly coming and then disappeared. Wow. Plus, we're in the middle of a shutdown right now that they are trying not to pay people for. Easily, it would not surprise me if, for Northern Virginia, if 40% of that population is federal workers. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. And so they have been directly impacted by this administration and its policies. And it's difficult for Republicans to say we're running on the economy when you literally just took my job, right? And so seeing that the pockets are where people care about is enlightening and a little frustrating, if I can be honest. And as far as your ask Nicole about where was this last year or why it's only happening to women candidates, I have been rallying that for a couple of weeks now, mainly behind, I don't know if you all heard about Graham Plattner.
I don't think I have.
Who is a Senate candidate in Maine. His election isn't until next year, but they were sort of pitting him as the progressive reckoning to the current, more establishment Democrat running. Okay. Either way, a video resurfaced, I don't know if it was out there, whatever, of him having a tattoo that's a Nazi symbol.
Oh, yes, I did see this person. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that it meant that.
Exactly. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know,"
I just like
and
right
then like, and
angles.
he's had it covered up since, whatever. And I'm like,
It was supposed to be a windmill tattoo. I'm part Holland.
so right, so sorry.
Not part
And
Holland.
like, don't get me wrong, I support growth. I support you, like, you know, I got new information and I shifted. At the same time, it's kind of wild the candidates y'all let grow and the ones, because again, progressives are saying like, oh no, we don't, like, he didn't know, it's not enough to discard him, this, that, and the third. But I swear, Super Predators 30 years prior was enough to take Hillary down.
Period.
And I swear that y'all wanted to pull out Kamala Harris's dating record from the 90s. And I swear, like, y'all really only let white men grow in this way that, like, yeah, no, if we're, I support us embracing growth, but we need to embrace it for everybody.
Yes.
Period.
And so, yeah, I definitely see you on this only being applied to certain types of candidates at certain times. And then other times y'all somehow figure it out. Just noting.
Yeah, just noting. It's funny. I just think it's funny that
30-year-old kids when they're white, but they're suddenly adults when they're 11 and 15, and they should know better.
Totally, exactly that. And it's just like, but I also understand that identity politics is never going to save us. I get that, because New York just had a black mayor who was one of the worst. Of all time. It was terrible. He was awful.
You ate that. That's true.
He was like, yeah,
absolutely.
Never mind.
He adopted.
Lauren, tell me if you remember this. Do you remember that I think it was a black governor of New York, and he was also visually impaired? Do you remember this person?
I've heard about somebody who was like blind and what color and like terrible. Yeah, I've heard about.
And Fred Armisen would impersonate him on SNL, and it was because he was such a mess. But it was in 2008. And we felt so good as a country that we had nominated, we had President-elect Barack Obama. So we were patting ourselves on the back. We were like, oh, we feel so good. Oh, as a matter of fact, New York just elected a black blind governor. So we see you and we raise it. And then he was terrible. He was awful. I think he may have resigned, because I don't even think he ended up finishing his whole term, because he ended up being like super corrupt, and it was just a mess.com. But so I know that identity politics isn't going to save us. I'm glad that the people of Virginia also kind of saw through that, but it's also going to be a little interesting.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah.
I thought she was frozen.
Yeah, she was frozen for a wee bit. Hopefully, let me just make sure she's not going to try to get back in, because she's got the link and she should be able to hop back in. But no, that
it was a mess. And I mean, I don't. Again, it's just one of those things where it's maybe Republican talking points are legitimately that crazy, right? But like, and I say that to say like now, because I remember Michael Steele. Michael Steele was/is, I don't know how he identifies right now, a black Republican who spoke in coherent sentences, who wasn't like pulling conspiracy theories off QAnon or Reddit, who was actually trying to lead people. He just had a conservative perspective. Between Herschel Walker down in Georgia and this lady, I'm like, where are y'all finding these people? Like, where even did you meet this like person who honestly, truly, if you saw them standing on the street, you would think like got let out, like is not supposed to be, but you're gonna like run them across the state as somebody who represents your party. It doesn't make sense. That was one of the craziest things, I think, for me moving up, again, growing up in Texas, doing college in Georgia, and coming up to DC, and meeting conservative black people who were not religious through. I was like, I thought this was because of this very specific.
I thought the Bible made you do it.
But yes, you don't go to a church, you don't go to a mosque, you don't go to anything. You just believe this in your core? Like, what is this?
No, I felt that in real time, because when Obama got elected in California, Proposition 8 also passed heavily because of the black vote. And they said, no gays, but we want the black guy. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. I have multiple identities that people don't like. And the thing is, like, there's so many people who are conservative without religion, like you were saying, just because the proximity to whiteness, because white people came in and gave us this language. They gave us these things. They forced us to be these things. So if we are like them, then maybe we can pull ourselves out of the hole, and it's the crabs in the bucket thing all over again.
Or just the fact that, first of all, white people have refused to believe white privilege exists, they not gonna share it. Like, y'all, let it go. Like, it's not gonna be a thing where they bequeath to the nicest minority this a little bit of your own. That's not gonna happen. I also think that there's also this inverse of like this race to not be the ones on the bottom, right? So it's like, oh no, everyone's trying to distance themselves from the other and whatever you deem that to be. And for the record, I don't want it to sound like I'm letting religious folks off the hook on that. I'm not. But I do think that it's this weird nexus of, we saw it with Israel-Palestine stuff as well, like these conservative groups reaching out to LGBT people being like, well, do you know what they do in Palestine to LGBT? Baby, you ain't never cared ever what was happening on this side of stuff. And suddenly you got all of this, well, I mean, I can't because in Palestine, the LGBT, stop it. That is not why you're saying what you're saying.
I have a note in my phone to talk about the crash outs.
You're like, let me sprinkle some white tears on my meal today. Just eat that up.
Like,
yes.
Well, speaking of mess, Debra Messing.
Come on now.
Debra Messing in particular, that will always hurt my heart because, again, Will and Grace is my shit like that. That was always my girl. And then after they did the reboot, and she started being kind of funny. And then as things progressed, especially around the Israel-Palestine thing, which started doubling down, and it's like, and they beheaded these way, and they did this. And she posted... I don't follow her, but like when I saw her, when someone posted a screenshot of her crying, so I needed to go to her page and see what was what. She shared a video of this guy who was like, do you guys remember when everyone elected Trump and they were like, his rhetoric can be dangerous. You didn't care because it didn't affect you. That's how I feel about Zohran winning. You don't see it yet, but go. It's a shared story. Like, you shouldn't be giving them likes and views, but it's just so funny because they're trying to spin the Trump rhetoric that, oh yeah, Trump and Zohran are the exact same level, except for the fact that Trump literally threatened to take federal funding if they elected Zohran, so they can't be on the same level. Like, what? Where?
If you have an issue with the bus being free, first of all, baby, you can feel free to continue paying for that bus. If that just makes you feel better about yourself, throw your money at the driver and go on. I'm like, you don't ride the bus. I also feel like Debra Messing, you also probably are not renting. And so it's one of those things that I'm like, girl, first of all, like, it is a very weird dynamic in general. And this is intended to be shade, and it's shade to everybody it applies to. There are few times in my life that I have been like devastated and crying and sobbing. And none of those times did it occur to me to pick up a camera and record myself and post that moment to the internet. Okay? You people are insane. This doesn't make any sense. Like, baby, that's a phone call to a good friend. That's a moment to write in your journal. That is not no moment to be broadcasting across the world. What do you want us to do with that? And also, silence is always an option. I do miss when we knew less about people. Because
let people be stupid in private.
The other side of it is like, Cardi B is also from New York and is very hot right now. You didn't see her running around with Cuomo and Eric Adams. Like, I think this side, and granted, she clearly got her own stuff going on. I'm not, like, that's not shade to Cardi. Like, she's got her own life. But the idea that, oh, I need to like speak out in this way, especially when you don't have nothing to say. Because I also think about the Chapel Roan, I'm curious about that, where you like have a lot to say and then the backlash shows up and you're like, oh, I'm just a girl. I really didn't know that was like that. Ma'am, then why was you out here with the people?
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, Lala's gonna do this. And then if there's any backlash, because the other part of me is like, I wonder if it's an influencer thing where you're just paid to post. And so, you know, he was running around trying to get black celebrities. And so, you know, her manager got paid. So it was a post, like, you know, like whatever. Or if there's some other like reason for it. Because as we noted, it was the very last minute. I don't think anybody woke up that morning like, I wonder who Lala's voting for. Like, it's
like, I haven't decided yet. Let me just check.
Right. Where I'm like, why was that a thing? But no, I agree. Nicki Minaj also revealed herself as MAGA this week. Did y'all peep that?
I did not, because I unfollowed Nicki a while ago. Someone tell me what happened.
He thanked President Trump for caring about the prosecution of Christians in Nigeria, which is very important to her, apparently. And she said that she's excited for the Barbs to make America gag again, because that's like, I guess, their thing.
Because Gag City.
Gag City, yeah. It was this whole thing. I was like, Now, don't get me wrong. I also don't follow Nicki Minaj, but I am on Black Twitter, and so the things come around. But aspiring to an echelon is just as dangerous as being a part of it. Like some of these people, like I'm saying, I'm like, y'all ain't got enough money to be, is it capitalist with no capital? You can't be out here trying to do this for these people.
That is absolutely a completely valid point. One of the things that I think was really important about that is like, even when you mention Cardi B, like it's possible to just sit there and eat your food, because Cardi B specifically, and I love Cardi, she knows her limits and where she can and can't do, but she was trying to get people out to vote when she was doing stuff for Bernie, when she was doing stuff for Kamala. Like she has tried to take her influence and be like, hey, I may not be an expert, but y'all are looking at me for some reason. I'm just a girl. However, let's talk to the professionals. If you're listening to me, let's just have a conversation. Let me ask you questions that I would wonder as a regular New Yorker, you're an American. And I thought that was really beautiful, the way that was done. I wanted to, I guess, talk about now outside of the election, because you asked how you've been perceived here. My entire 8 years of Australia, we spent a lot of time being like, oh, why? I can't believe this happened. Why is this happening? As if we are the political experts.
Yes.
So in this situation, Nicole, did it start recording for you? Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But a lot of the things here, whenever anything happens in America, people are like, why would they do this? What's happening? How do you feel about this? Or worse, Australians are such bystanders to the TV show that is America. They'll be like, oh my God, it's so interesting. We love Trump. Like literally 2-3 months ago, I got in a car and Trump had done some bullshit. Like, I don't remember what it was. I think it was around the time that he sent the National Guard to California. And they're like, it's in the Uber, this man's talking to me. Here's my accent. And I'm like, just trying to get to work. I'm literally trying to mind my own business. As much as I can, I've softened my American accent because I just don't want to deal with it. But he'd be like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, so I say it like I've been saying California to anyone I don't plan to see again, because I don't want to have that conversation at anyone. Like, we're not going to be friends. You don't know my name. You're never going to see me again. California, I was born there. That's where I came from. California is all you get from me, friend. And they're like, oh yeah, California, we love it. Because when they say that, cool, conversation is done, except when Trump does something. So he'd be like, oh my God, Trump does this. We love him over here. I wish he would come run stuff over here. And the thing is, everything that happens in America is a direct ripple to Australia, because it's very much like a little brother, big brother situation. Like, oh, big brother says this, whether it's our media, where they think that we're the good ones because Black Americans are the pinnacle of cool and that's all that they know. So we're hip, we're all these things. Anytime America does something, they're like, oh, maybe we should do that. There have been so many times that there have been protests and there have been Trump flags, like pro-Trump 2024, 2028 flags here, being like, wow, oh my God, I wish he was like that. And when the election happened, our Democrats won, but they are central at best. Like they got in, opened a brand new coal mine that was literally going to destroy the reef. They got in and started cutting all these benefits and upping the rules for protesting. You have to register to protest and no more masks, and like everything that America's doing, Australia is like, oh, okay. Like it's a national shift everywhere. So everyone is watching. So Zohran winning, be like, please let this be a ripple effect for us as well. Like, don't let the bad stuff only come over. So like, that's kind of what it looks like over here. And that's kind of how it's being perceived over here.
That is really, I had not thought of that. I mean, you hear about it in Europe, right? And you've seen the impact in Europe, but that is, oh goodness. So I think it's so, I guess, interesting the way that entertainment has like influence the way we perceive everything. Like, and I thought it was an American issue, but maybe it's a larger human issue of like, people want to be entertained first. Substance and everything else is second. Like, we saw, I think, the first wave of that with our media. Like Fox News, according to them, they are not a news channel. They're an entertainment channel. And so they say that so that when people are like, but you said this, this, and this, and it wasn't true. They're like, we're actually entertainment. We're not news. Like, we don't really have to. And I'm like, okay, but in that case, somebody, maybe the FCC, should make them take news off of that. Like, they don't get to just do that. But again, what they point to are parody news shows like The Daily Show. Like, even on some of the late night specials where it's like, oh, they get to say things that are not true and that's not a problem. And I'm like, and a lot of people take the comments from there as like news as well, right? Like, I think there is a very real desire to be entertained first and then the substance fall where it may. And our media, I credit a lot with Trump, one in 2016, because they didn't take him seriously, because they said, oh, he's never going to win, and because they hated Hillary the amount that they did. It led to very unbiased coverage. It led to like, oh, Trump can say this and he's so funny. He's so haha. He's brash. He's giving real talk. He's speaking the common man's language. And then with Hillary, it's like, yeah, but if you think about it, that comma was a little out of place. Like that pause is a little weird. So we actually know we can't trust her, right? And so you end up with this dynamic, and then he gets elected and they all get on TV and are like, wow, we didn't see this coming. I'm like, really? Because if we look at the coverage, it's like 70-30 him. Even when she would give a speech and not mention him, it's Hillary didn't mention Trump in this speech. Like it's all there's a way to make the story about him if you want to make it about him. God, that makes me really sad. So I'll be honest, friend. I thought you had fled to the great, like, great beyond. I was like, Ri'chard then left for Australia. He out there living his best life, not dealing with this BS. The fact that it is coming down that way is really unfortunate. And I guess what I do have a question about is like, are y'all having economic issues in the same way? Because here they told us it was economic anxiety. That was why people clung to Trump. Are y'all seeing that similarly?
Kind of. And like, Nicole may have a different, like, or may want to add on to this as well. But one of the things that they're having here, no, we can't hear.
Oh, something going on. Yeah, something going on with her sound is what she's saying.
Yeah, just for the sake of time, we'll continue and like just have our silent partner being like. But the way you were saying, you thought I fled to the great beyond. In many ways, I did, because the quality of life here, the gun control, the minimum wage is 23 Australian dollars, which translates to about 17 American dollars. So you could work at McDonald's and get full vacation time. You can get 4 weeks leave. You can get all these protections and coverages. So like the way they're taking care of the minimum person is great. There's a lot of issues with our version of welfare and Medicare. Like I'm on it right now and it pays for certain things, but they're also very much like, oh, you shouldn't be spending money on XYZ. Like, it's not the same as people, like how people feel about Snap. Like, oh, I can't believe they got a cookie on Snap. And I'm like, girl, let them have some sugar. Like the world's on fire. But there's also plenty of systems. Like one of the things I have now, whenever I'm acting, I'll get a job that pays, like say, I get acting like once a week, once every other week. And they'll be like, oh, so you made $400 this week. We're going to take $400 out of your government payment. So you're not actually going to be able to pull yourself out of it until you have like a full-time job that just pays so much more than what they're giving you. Like I have just paid my rent evenly for the last 3 months. Like by no means am I like starving, but I'm also not outside the way I would be. Australia has a shit ton of millionaires, like so many millionaires. The middle class is huge. Almost everyone from Australia, if you're from Melbourne, your family has money. You have all this generational wealth because Australia is a young country, and by young I mean young colonization. So the people who came in here, they destroyed the First Nations communities. They took all this money, took all this land, took all this wealth, and now that people are kind of like, hey, but what about the First Nations people who are still very much here? And like some people in Australia are putting effort to like acknowledge them and take care of them. Like Victoria just passed a treaty to essentially give them not a voting body, which is what the Conservative Party was trying to like spin it off as, but it's just like an advisory board. Being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't drill in this area because it's a protected sacred site that will also destroy the environment. And now that they have a voice, it'll actually be like it's strongly encouraged that we don't do this. Like government can still do it. Like it doesn't mean like, okay, we won't do it because we have it. So like, it's nice. It's symbolic. I don't want to say it's performative, but it's better than nothing. But there's a lot of people who are like, Australia is my country. And because we've been trying to do this, there was also a yes vote to do this for the entire country that failed horribly. Like they had the entire country vote to have a vote, an Australian voice and indoctrinated into their constitution. And Australia overwhelmingly said no. And since that time, states have been trying to do the same thing. So essentially, the whole country's been like, Australia is my home. I'm a native Australian. Like, baby girl, you're not though. And it's white Australians who are so young and so privileged, and like you said, they don't acknowledge white privilege exists, so they're not going to give it away. And they're like, Australia's my home. My ancestors built this, and I'm like, well, they built this on top of someone else's house. This built this on top of someone else's land. But no, so they're very much in the position of like, we were here first, and by no means is that even remotely true. So there's been a lot of protests where it's like been anti-immigration protests where it's like, stop bringing in Africans, stop bringing in these people. They're taking all of our jobs. So like the exact same rhetoric that has been sweeping through America is coming here. And while a lot of my friends who have never experienced this in the first hand, they're like scared and nervous. So because I grew up where I did, I'm like, yo, we can handle it. Like what they think they're doing is nothing compared to what I grew up with. Like black people aren't hanging from trees here. They're not busting down your house, like all this stuff. They're showing up in the middle of the night saying Australia's to the white men. They're doing all this bullshit that's unnecessary. It's horrible rhetoric, but at the same time, they're taking it from America. They're taking it from the playbook of Nazi Germany. They're taking it from white Australia. Like there was a white Australia policy till the 60s. First Nations people were considered flora and fauna until the 60s. They were not real people. They did not really exist. So Australia absolutely has its issues. And in our show, we'll always talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. it is so many great things here, but that shift, America is definitely adding fuel to this fire. Like we have an agreement with the UK and America. We gave this the AUKUS agreement for nuclear subs that we won't get for 20 years. And I'm like, what do we need nuclear subs for? Nobody's looking at Australia. And like that, it's been a common conversation, like especially because America and the UK have been so pro-Israel, everything else. They're like, why are we attaching ourselves to this sinking ship? And so that there's a bit of a divide that's going to be coming in the near future where it's going to be like, oh, what side of the line are we on? So even with the podcast, even with the community that we're building, essentially like we're gathering everyone up because we're going to be catching strays. Whether you are Black Americans, Africans, Asians, First Nations people of color are going to be catching strays from white Australians who are getting more and more increasingly upset by what's happening here as the world pushes back against this far-right conservative movement. And I will say it's worrying, but I'm not afraid of it for that reason, because I've seen worse. I've seen worse, and I see what it could be like, and I care so much about this place. I want it to be better, like you said, because I love this place. You can point out, I want this to be better. I know we can do better here. And that's what we're doing with the podcast, with the organization, like just general energy of creating a space of love, not like we hate you, like, hey, we are immigrants too, girl. Like the only person who could say this is our country are First Nations people. And the fact that they're not even saying it like that, which they would be fully in their rights to do so. Like we should be doing like them, being like, hey, this is our shared space. We have to take care of this land together, because Australia has a hole in the ozone layer right above us. Like we were already at a misstep. Like we really shouldn't be playing around like this. And yeah, I think that's a brief synopsis. Nicole really can't. Did you want to try to unmute again?
Yeah.
Tis not. But
I appreciate that phrasing, Ri'chard, because I will say that, so there's two things, right? There is the world at large, which, as we noted, is burning. And so we can't pretend like that's not a thing. But as Black Americans, we've been here before. I am pregnant right now, which is
congratulations again.
One of the greatest joys of my life. Absolutely. And I will say, even before I got pregnant, the progressive thing to say in DC or other places is like, oh, I'm not bringing children into a world like this. It's irresponsible to have kids when the climate is this and the climate is that. I'm like, baby, I'm Black. There has never been a good time to have Black children in America. Never. My great-grandparents could have looked at slavery and said it's not a good time, and my grandparents wouldn't be here. My grandparents could have looked at sharecropping and Jim Crow and said it's not a good time. My parents could have looked at crack and mass incarceration and said it's not a good time. Like, there is no good time. And so what I do know is I'm from a resilient people. In a world that has continuously tried to bring us down, in a world that has continuously tried to deny us our humanity, we have built homes and community and businesses and schools and have made our own joy. And while we should definitely take the condition of the world seriously, we can't let it decide our future, because if that were true, then none of us would have gotten here. And so absolutely, I hear you. Yes, we see things as they are, but we're going to build. We're going to keep moving. We're going to make community, and we're going to come together, because that actually is what we have at the end of it.
Oh,
totally
100%. And like that's one of the things, exactly what you're saying. And that's really encouraging to hear that other people think that way, because I love kids. And the thing is, like, my only hesitation with having children is the financial aspect. Like, especially what I need to be doing right now to have a child would be like, you'd be splitting myself even further than I already am. And like, I know I don't have the capacity at this very moment. 5-10 years from now, potentially. But that's a conversation of if me and my partner at the time were like, hey, is this what we want to do? Can we do this together? Because I've always been the kind of person that, like, as the oldest sibling, I'm like, I need to take care of things. But if I'm in a relationship where I have a child, that is our child. It's not my child. This is our child. Nothing's ever going to be 50-50 by any means. But if it's not a mutual thing, I know that I can't be a single parent and do what I have planned, because this is all only the beginning of what could be a huge or undertaking. And like, I'm excited for it, and I'm ready for it. I'm scared of it, but you have to be a little scared of your dreams. Otherwise, I don't think they're not big enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nicole, Nicole added in the difference of religious freedom doesn't feel as great. No, I fully agree. Australia, when I took the citizenship test, one of the things that's very interesting, Australia is a great place, but at the same time, it's very backwards when it relates to some of the things, like religious freedom being one of them. I took the Australia test, and there's a few questions that you have to get 70%. But there's 5 questions that you have to get right. And if you get everything else right, but you miss one of those questions, I call them the White Australia questions. They essentially, like, it says Australia, you have to speak English to work here. You have to, it's like, it talks about religious freedoms, but it's actually leaning more towards Christianity specifically. Like, all the things that they say in this question, but you have to get it right. And by right, I mean what they say is right. So if English is your second language, that test is meant to fuck you up. It's not, you're not supposed to get that test right. You're not supposed to get it right. The way they phrase it's very funny. They don't mess with immigrants either. And these policies are absolutely coming from their big brothers, the UK and the US. So a lot of the things Australia is doing is because other people are doing it. And my philosophy is that if you're doing it because other people are doing it, when other people do something else, you will follow that as well. And I have found that here because when we first started the podcast, nobody was listening to us. It was like our friends who were like, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. We like you, so we'll give it a try. And now that strangers are finding it, now strangers are showing up to the live shows and they're like engaging with this. And they're like, oh, I've never had this conversation before. Like in America, we have conversations about race. Like we ask how the weather is. In America, like these things they're so intrinsically encoded to our survival because every other day, something's happening to us. And in Australia, even people who have black and brown friends, that's not a conversation they have, especially if they're immigrants. I've had people who look like me, but grew up in Africa, grew up in Asia, grew up in an island being like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but back home, we don't have water. Back home, people are getting murdered for XYZ. And they're so caught into it could be worse, but it's better than what I had, so I don't want to make waves. And I'm like, but that's how nothing gets done. And coming from this energy, like I said at the start of the episode, we're the only ones who can save us because sitting around waiting for other people don't have a problem with this. Like they're happy to just vibe. Like they will survive this. They will live. They will go to work. They will have their kids. They'll have their family, and then they'll die. And that will be enough for them. And because it's not enough for us, like Nicole often says, the reason an idea comes to us is because spirit wanted to come through you. Like you were supposed to be acting on these things. And this sitting in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to do this. Because if I don't, it won't get done, or someone else will get it, or they'll do it differently than I would have done it. And then it's just like, we have to make these moves. And it's been a blessing and a curse knowing that it's fairly a blank slate here. Like being able to do these things, because in America, none of this would have been possible. Like it could have been done. Like we could have had a podcast, but like realistically, what we talk about, everyone has a podcast in America. It's everyone's doing this. There's no like, yay, there's racism in America. We know that, but we're in another country talking about it. Like nobody's going to Australia. Like I love my friends and family. Nicole knew me towards the end of my relationship, but you knew me at the start of the dating, getting engaged, getting the invite to the wedding. Like my friends and family, a lot of their first times in Australia was going to be for that wedding.
Absolutely. I was literally like, I'm going to go for this because otherwise when am I going to go? And then was it 2020 when y'all had the wildfires? Yes. My perspective was like, okay, also let me go while it's still here, right? Like because like so much of the climate change has impacted you all, I know, in some really direct ways. But no, I totally, first of all, I think the concept is fun, right? I love that y'all care enough to still be involved. Because again, I haven't lived in Texas in, this year is 15 years since I left Texas. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I left Texas, yes, but it's not like I stopped caring about what happened there, right? People want to do this whole, I'm going to move to France, I'm going to move to this. I mean, yeah, guess what? When the people you love are still in the place and things are happening, you pay attention to it. So yeah, no, Greg Abbott is crazy as hell. And I care about that because, as an example, I went down early in my pregnancy to Texas for some family stuff and I got sick. I'm pretty sure I got like COVID or something adjacent while I was there. And I was scared because of the reproductive rights laws there. I was like, if I go to the hospital here, what is like the protocol where I am in my pregnancy? Like, what is it going to be? And my fiance was like, come back, come back to Maryland. Like, get back on that plane, get on the flight. And I was like, well, that's irresponsible, right? For me to spread around whatever this is. But either way, the idea that, oh, I don't have to worry about something because I don't live where it happens, I think is not true. And so you all talking about the impact that American politics has on Australia, the significance of the Black experience where you all are, I think all of that is so important because our stories matter and we deserve to hear each other. I'm also, just as a podcaster, and we can talk about this offline, but I'm curious how y'all's live shows go. I've only done live shows virtually. I find them to be very fun, but y'all do them like in front of an audience, and I just think that's so cool. Yeah, we got a couple minutes. We could talk about it. So the first live show we did was more just like a showcasing of Black talent that we had here because representation matters. And back home, community was not something we had to think about because we were just born into it. Like you were always going to somebody's cookout. You were always hanging out with your neighbors. You were always here. But in Australia, we'll say it's accidental. Black people are so spread out. There's no Chinatown for us. There's no area. Like there's a lot of Black people in Footscray, but I don't know if that's just because financially that's what was affordable for Africans. A lot of Black people that I know live further west. But in the city, like we're so spread out. It's like there's so many little events that we have going on that marketing, the way it works, the way algorithms go, everything is kind of suppressed. So just like, we're here.
I want to showcase all my super talented friends, the poets, the singers, the dancers, what have you, and also be like, hey, we're here, we're elevating this message. And the second live show we did was very much just like a sit down and we were just talking. We just had an episode that also was very fun because we just decided to essentially pretend the audience wasn't there. Like we were obviously talking to them, but the same way we talked to the camera. And we were doing like Australian food taste tests. And it was just being able to engage with the listeners. Some people had never heard our show before. A lot of people had. And because a lot of times, particularly for me, I get a lot of the messages because I reply more to the things, and giving Nicole the opportunity to see the impact of all the works and all the jokes and all the impactful statements that she's made, to be like, oh, people are receiving this well. And being able to do that in real time was just so nice because like you can do this and hope for the best and you see the numbers like, oh yeah, this was downloaded 100 times, that was downloaded 50 times, whatever. Downloads don't show impact, but live shows do, because messages can be from bots. The amount of fake information, the amount of AI, robots, all this other nonsense is happening. Who's to say who's actually receiving our things? And doing a live show was a way to be like, oh, no, this is actually working. Like, even if it's just 50 people, that's 50 people who are spreading that mess, who are taking that to heart, who are lifting themselves up and be like, maybe we can have these different conversations with people. So like the live show was fantastic. And we're doing another one January 30th, where it's very much going to be a recurring event of just like showcasing Black and brown talent, because no one else is making space for us. So we will make space for ourselves. And I also started doing weekly shout outs of if someone told me about an event they're doing. Australians famously wait till the last minute to do everything. So getting them a lineup of things that are happening on the week of, being like, hey, if y'all don't have anything to do this Thursday, this is happening on Wednesday. And they'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I will check that out. And it's been really good to do cross promotion as well, because we'll shout out someone's thing and then they'll reshare our thing and they'll say, oh, who's this? Right. Oh, what's this podcast about? And then like, Nicole doesn't know this, but since I started doing that, we've gotten 40 more followers. Like every video gets about 10 to 15 followers, because it's just people are thankful for the shout outs, because it costs us nothing to be like, hey, this thing's happening, and tag them, direct people to their website, gets them more traffic, and vice versa. So it's been really helpful all around for building the community. And I thought it would be much harder to do. Like, it has been a grind, and by no means are we where we want to be. And there's been a lot of resistance, but there's been also a lot of people who have been like, yes, enthusiastically, with no need to be sold. And that's been really, really reassuring and really helpful for, I guess, like personal morale, if I'm honest, because doing these things is a thankless job. I mean, like, I want better for you, but if they don't want better for themselves, you're shouting the void like Nicole is.
No, I'm glad that that's going well and folks are responding well. I do think building community is not necessarily hard, but it does take intention, right? Like you have to do it and continuously engage with it. And like, that is hard. Growing up, my parents had parties all the time, or it felt like all the time. I don't know, maybe it was like twice a month, but we had a cookout or somebody's birthday party or church stuff to go to like all the time. And I think for some reason, like I actually enjoyed that, right? Like I host stuff and that's what I like to do. But I have a lot of friends who like that was really draining for, like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Oh my God, this is so much. Like another birthday party, another baby shower, another this, another that. But the flip side of that has been this loneliness epidemic that I think a lot of people are experiencing, of like, oh, wow, like either these great things are happening and I have no one to share it with, or I need somebody to help me move. Who do I call, right? And I think that, like, yeah, being intentional about building community is like, part of that is also showing up to stuff, is doing stuff. So yeah, you're sharing other people's stuff. They're sharing it back. Like maybe not every event is like a huge deal or like something you'd want to go to, but that interaction of good faith builds in the long run, that I think is really, really conducive for what the world needs right now, to be honest, because it is rough out here.
And I think maybe, I mean, this again is just hypothesis, because we had lockdowns as long as we did. So many people were already physically isolated, so that when we got out, people were like outside. They were in the streets, but they didn't know where to go. They didn't know who was doing what. So like the last few, because I've done this 3 weeks now, and I've been telling myself to show up tired. Like, again, because I'm already doing this, and with the government job, I had more money, but now I'm like hustling to make sure I can pay the rent, but also get these episodes out, and also still show up to these events when I can afford them. But anytime I shout someone out and I show up at their event, the organizers show up, they see me, and because obviously my face in the video, they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for the shout out. It means XYZ. And like that little thank you means so much, because like they are seeing, it's not just like someone liked it and they said, yeah, like cool, they reshared it, but they're very grateful for the presence, because when you show up tired, so many more opportunities come from that. Like that 5-second, 10-second conversation that we had with the organizer was like, oh, and then when they see our posts in January, like, oh, we're doing a show again, I know they're going to show up for us as well, because I've already seen it. We've done like little stuff where I had friends host things, who other people that I invited to came out. It's like, of course they're going to keep showing up because community is not about convenience. In anything, it's an inconvenience to be there for community, but the reward is so much more worth it.
Show up tired and community is not about convenience. That's bangers. Yeah. Like that's exactly what it's about, because it does matter in the long run. And I do think that finding your people is a choice. It's not something that like folks fall in your lap. You can even say the same thing with dating, right? Like one of the funniest things to me about watching sitcoms now, like Living Single or Girlfriends or whatever, is like you would really think just walking down the street, somebody's gonna roll up on you and be like, hey, I think you're beautiful in the grocery store, yeah. Right? Like, give me your number. Let's go out on Friday. And then y'all date for 3 months and break up. No, baby, that's not
at all.
You're going to have to intentionally show up and put yourself out there and be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. What a mess. I don't know.
Does it work?
I don't know if it's working now because this internet has me stressed today.
It is. We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Nicole, is there any like last minute things you want us to add in? Because now you have your voice again. Oh, I jinxed it. But as you were saying, like when you realize that a lot of the media it's just make believe, that you have to create the life that you want. Mm-hmm. And moving that way, like platonic and romantic relationships has been the biggest change to my life. Like the way that the universe is like, I don't want to say falling in line, but propelling me forward is because I've just been actively embracing the unknown and being like, this is all scary, doing it scared. Like another thing, like I just do it scared because I don't know what's going to happen, but I know nothing's going to happen if I sit on my ass. And so I'm just like, here we are 3 months into this unemployment business. Every opportunity that I'd said yes to has paid out in some way, even if it's not the way I expected. So I'm very happy to keep doing that because that's really all we have. I'm like 10,000 miles away from my family and friends. The friends I made here are my family. The connections that I made, and all of them were just me talking to people. Like I would have never met Nicole if I wasn't like, you know what? I'm Black in Australia forever. Sure, there's other Black people here. I sent out a mass text to all my friends like, hey, if you know a Black American, send them my way. Black History Month's coming. And one of my friends had just met Nicole at a shop. If I hadn't sent that text, if I hadn't met my friend Christian either, none of these things would connect. There would be no show. There would be none of these things. It was just trying. Having an idea and be like, I want better. I want to do differently. And it's been great. It's been scary. Again, being so far away, running away from America to start something new, terrifying. But we want to encourage everyone to try something. Not everyone can run away. Like I often say, the circumstances that got me here were a lot of coincidences, luck, timing, people taking care of me. Like I know I put in the work, but I was also highly favored, taken care of by the people who love me as well, propel forward. And I want to do that for the people. I want to be grabbing hands, throwing other people up too, because that's how we get ahead. Because white people are doing it all the time. Their solidarity is insane. The rich people do it all the time. Their class solidarity is airtight. And the only thing stopping us is someone showing them the way, showing them that it can be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it is...
No notes. 10 out of 10.
Oh, yay. Well, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap up on. Since Ariel has lost her voice once again, I will thank her on both of our halves. We're so grateful. Like this, we would love to have you on the podcast again, perhaps. And I know Nicole will have more talking points. U.S. politics is shaping the entire world, whether we want it to or not, and it's always going to be doing so. And every other day, Trump is doing some other shit that's like, again. How is so? I know this is going to be an ongoing conversation. Now, we'd love to have you back next season, and we're very grateful to have you. We're grateful that this could work out, and look forward to shouting out your show again. And just thank you. Congratulations on your baby. And we look forward to more growth, more prosperity, and more silver linings like Zohran's win.
Amen. Nicole, it was a delight to meet you. Ri'chard has told me so much about you and said we would hit it off, and I 1,000% agree. Ri'chard, we are so locked in. You know this. So yeah, let's do it. I'd love to come back and love to have you all on if and when I get the opportunity. So yes, let's keep this going.
Oh, absolutely. But until next time, I'm Ri'chard. This is Nicole, and this has been Melanated in Melbourne. See ya.
This has been Melanated in Melbourne, a podcast that analyzes the Australian lifestyle from the lens of two Black American besties. Visit us at melanatedinmelbourne.com or follow us on Instagram to send us your comments or questions. Thank you for listening.